A dead silence spread across the black of space, broken only by the slow movement of massive alien ships gathering above the small blue planet below. The fleet was endless, silver shapes gliding with cold precision, their weapons glowing like hungry suns, their confidence absolute. They had fought many species across the stars and crushed them all, and now they came for Earth. The commanders of the alien armada believed this would be no different, because humans had no place in space. Humans were weak, tied to their soil, trapped by gravity, untrained for the void. To them, this war was already over before it began. The alien leaders whispered to one another that Earth would fall within a single cycle, that the humans would beg, and that their screams would vanish into silence like every race before them. But then, in the middle of the void, something impossible appeared. A light, faint at first, then burning brighter, spread across the darkness above Earth. It was not a weapon, not a planet, but an image, an enormous projection of Earth's flag hanging in orbit. It did not flicker, it did not fade, it burned with steady fire against the endless dark. Billions on Earth looked up, watching their flag float among the stars for the very first time. Across the alien fleet, confusion spread. No species had ever done this, no one had ever claimed the void with a symbol instead of guns. It was arrogance, the aliens thought. A final gesture before death. Yet behind that flag, something else waited, something the aliens did not see. For decades, in secret, humans had been building, not weapons like the aliens knew, but something stranger. They had hidden their work inside dead satellites, buried it in asteroid mines, disguised it as old space junk circling their planet. And now, as the flag burned above Earth, the secret woke. In the shadow of the great alien ships, a small human craft drifted into view, no larger than a cargo shuttle, moving without fear. The aliens scanned it and laughed, for it was slow, it was fragile, and it was alone. A scout ship moved forward to destroy it, charging its weapons, sure of the easy kill. But then, the small craft moved. It did not fire a missile, it did not use a beam. Instead, it twisted, turned, and cut across space with a motion the aliens had never seen before. Its engines screamed, its hull trembled, but it moved faster and sharper than physics should allow. The scout ship tried to follow, but in seconds it was caught in a trap it did not understand, its systems failing, its path broken. Then, with a blinding flash, the human craft struck. A beam tore through the alien ship's core, ripping it apart in silence, scattering glowing fragments across the stars. The entire alien fleet froze. Never before had a single fragile craft destroyed one of their scouts in open battle. On Earth, the people who watched from hidden control rooms screamed with triumph, their hands shaking, their eyes wide. For the first time in history, humanity had destroyed an alien ship in the void. The small craft turned and faced the entire armada, its engines dim but alive, as if daring them to come closer. The alien commander, seated on a throne of light within the largest warship, leaned forward. His skin glowed with cold fire, his many eyes fixed on the human ship. His voice, like a storm-breaking stone, rolled through the command chamber. They were not supposed to fight here. The words echoed through the alien fleet, spreading unease. For the first time in generations, the great hunters of the stars felt something they had never known before. Fear. The alien armada hung in silence after the impossible death of their scout, their glowing weapons dimmed for the first time, as if the entire fleet could not believe what had just happened. They had expected humans to hide, to beg, or to fire crude rockets like frightened children throwing stones. Instead, one fragile craft had danced through the void with a motion no alien computer could predict, and in a flash, a scout ship was gone. On Earth, hidden bunkers deep below cities shook with cheers as commanders and engineers watched the victory on their screens, but their joy was mixed with terror, because they knew the aliens would not forgive such humiliation. High above, the alien admiral hissed in fury and ordered a new wave. This time not one scout, but an entire wing of warships moved forward, their silver hulls glittering like knives under the light of distant stars. They expected no resistance, yet still they advanced carefully, watching for tricks. The lone human ship drifted back toward the shadows of asteroid fields near Mars, and the aliens followed, eager to crush it. But what they found was not weakness. From behind silent rocks and cold fragments of space junk, more human ships appeared, not many, not powerful, but moving with the same reckless speed, the same impossible maneuvers, the same wild courage. The aliens opened fire, beams cutting through the dark, but the humans did not fight like any enemy they had faced before. They did not move in lines, they did not follow patterns, they broke apart, vanished into asteroid shadows, and then struck from angles no one expected. One alien warship exploded when a human vessel used the pull of a spinning asteroid to slingshot straight into its engines, tearing through it like fire through paper. Another alien ship tried to lock onto a human target, but the human pilot cut power, drifted silently for a moment, and then struck with a sudden burst that melted its hull. The aliens had numbers, they had power, but the humans had something else: desperation. Every pilot fought as if there was no tomorrow, as if death itself was chasing them, and in truth it was. Across Earth, billions watched the battle through shaky transmissions, every family gathered around screens, every soldier clenched their fists, their hearts racing with fear and pride. The aliens began to whisper in their cold, high voices, whispering words that had not been spoken in centuries. They adapt. For no alien race had ever changed their tactics so fast, no species had ever turned chaos into a weapon. The Admiral grew restless, his many eyes narrowing as he saw another warship destroyed, this time by what should have been an impossible strike from behind. The humans were not stronger, not faster, not superior, yet they refused to fight the way every species before them had fought. They did not seek order. They embraced the storm. In the chaos of fire and broken ships, one human vessel disabled an alien cruiser, latching onto it with magnetic claws. For the first time, a boarding team crossed into an alien ship. The aliens fought, their blades of light slicing through steel, but the humans pushed forward, fierce and unrelenting. Hours later, Earth Command received a single coded message that shook the war: they had captured an alien alive. Across the alien fleet, fear spread like disease, for never before had their kind been taken by an enemy, never before had their technology fallen into strange hands. The Admiral slammed his claws against the throne, his voice shaking with rage, but beneath his fury there was something colder, something he dared not name. The humans were not supposed to fight here. They were not supposed to win even a single battle. Yet now, as the alien ships regrouped and pulled back from the asteroid belt, every commander in the fleet knew the truth. The war with Earth would not end in one cycle, nor two. This was the beginning of something far more dangerous. The humans had drawn blood, and in the black silence of space, the flag of Earth still burned. The captured alien ship drifted in the cold void, its silver hull scarred by fire, its lights flickering like a dying beast. Human vessels circled it carefully, afraid it might still have hidden weapons, but the prize was too important to destroy. For the first time in history, Earth had taken a warship from a species older, stronger, and far more advanced. Inside, human soldiers moved through the twisted halls, their boots echoing on metal floors that hummed with strange energy. The air smelled sharp, like burned stone, and the walls pulsed faintly as if the ship itself were alive. They found one survivor, an alien officer bound in chains, his many eyes glowing with hatred, his body trembling not from fear but from a kind of rage humans had never seen before. He refused to speak, but his silence spoke enough. He had never expected to be a prisoner. On Earth, scientists and military leaders gathered in underground bunkers, studying the strange vessel through screens and reports. They discovered that every alien ship was controlled not by individual captains but by a vast network of central AI cores that linked them together. The ships did not think alone. They followed commands like parts of a single body. To humans, this was both terrifying and promising, because if the core could be broken, the body would collapse. 4 days, engineers worked to pierce the alien systems, tapping wires, attaching human devices, trying to read the language of light that flowed through the circuits. Finally, a breakthrough came. The system spoke in patterns, not words, and it did not understand randomness. Humans began to see why their chaotic maneuvers in space had confused the alien fleets. The aliens could not predict what had no order. Chaos was a weapon, and humanity carried it in their very nature. In a hidden chamber deep within the captured ship, the prisoner was questioned. He resisted, his voice a low hiss, his eyes unblinking, but under the pressure of silence and time he revealed one dangerous truth. "You were not meant to last this long," he said, his voice like ice. Our kind expected you to fall in the first strike. No world has survived us after the first cycle. But if you survive another, if you survive even one more turn of your sun, the council will order retreat. The words fell like thunder in the human war rooms. Was it possible? Could the mighty invaders actually run from Earth? But before hope could rise, the alien added one more truth, his voice heavy with contempt. Survive, and you will bring fire on yourselves. They will burn your cities from orbit. They will erase your oceans. They will make your sky black forever. His eyes narrowed, and for a moment, even chained, he looked like the master of the room. The scientists wrote every word, the generals whispered among themselves, and the people of Earth held their breath. Above, in orbit, the alien fleet shifted uneasily. Their admiral had heard the same truth through intercepted transmissions. A warning had gone out from the Central Council of their empire: if humans lasted another cycle, evacuation might be considered. The admiral felt shame at the thought, shame that boiled into fury. He would not allow his fleet to retreat. He would bring destruction before Dishonor. Yet in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered the same words he had spoken when the first human ship fought back: they were not supposed to fight here. On Earth, the flag still burned above the sky, projected for all to see, but now it carried a heavier meaning. Humanity had not only fought, they had learned, they had taken the enemy's secrets, and they would not stop. The captured ship was stripped piece by piece, its weapons studied, its engines mapped, and its systems broken down. For the first time, humans understood how the invaders saw them, not as equals, not even as enemies, but as a mistake, a problem in the order of the stars. And problems, the aliens believed, were meant to be erased. Yet humans were not a problem to themselves. They were survivors. And in the shadows of Earth's command centers, a plan began to form, a plan not only to survive the next cycle but to strike first. Far away, beyond the orbit of Earth, the alien admiral gave a final command. His fleet would gather strength, and then he would unleash an attack so devastating that no human would dare resist again. The skies above Earth would soon burn. The war reached Earth's first great outpost in space, the proud New London base that circled the planet like a shining ring of steel, home to thousands of scientists, soldiers, and families who believed it was safe under the shadow of Earth's flag. For weeks, the base had been a symbol of courage, the place where humans sent messages to their people that they could stand against the invaders, but the alien admiral had chosen it for his next strike. From the black of space, without warning, the alien fleet moved like a storm, silent and merciless. Their weapons glowed with the fire of a dying star, and in one terrible wave the attack began. The first beams tore through the base's defenses like paper, cutting towers into fragments, sending metal and bodies spinning into the void. The screams of those inside echoed across radio channels before static swallowed them. The families who had lived in comfort for months became shadows in seconds. Entire sections of New London collapsed, breaking apart as flames burst through oxygen tanks, painting the sky above Earth with trails of fire. On the surface below, people raised their heads and saw the streaks burning across the night, their hearts breaking as they realized it was not stars they were watching fall, but their own people. In hidden bunkers, Earth commanders shouted orders, trying to fire back, but the weapons of New London base were too slow, too few, and too fragile. The alien admiral watched from his throne of light, satisfied as the human pride was torn apart piece by piece. Yet even in the flames, the humans fought. Pilots launched their fragile ships from the dying base, charging directly into enemy fire, knowing they could not survive but refusing to surrender. One vessel rammed itself into an alien cruiser, exploding in white light that ripped half the ship apart. Another pilot fired until his guns melted, screaming his last words into the radio: "We are still here." For every human that fell, 10 more shouted their names, their courage burning hotter than the fires consuming the station. When the destruction was over, New London base was no more. Only debris remained, drifting above Earth like broken teeth, a graveyard in orbit. Millions on the planet watched in silence, tears running down their faces, their grief as heavy as the wreckage that now circled their home. But grief was not the only thing rising. From the ashes of New London came fury. Nations that had once argued over borders and power now stood together for the first time in history, their leaders united under one cause. The flag above Earth was no longer just a symbol, it was a call to arms. In a secret meeting below the ruins of an old city, a man stepped forward, his face lit only by the glow of a single screen. He was a commander known to few, a shadow in the halls of power, but his voice carried the weight of steel. "They think this will break us," he said, his eyes hard. "They are wrong. They have given us one thing they never understood: unity. From this day, no nation stands alone. From this day, we fight under one flag." The room fell silent, then filled with the steady beat of agreement. Across Earth, workers built weapons faster, engineers turned factories into arsenals, and young men and women volunteered to fly ships that might never return. The death of New London had not crushed them. It had made them dangerous. Still, in the quiet moments of the night, when screens flickered with reports of the dead and families searched for lost names, fear lingered. They knew the aliens were not finished. The admiral who had destroyed New London was already preparing his next strike, and his fleet grew stronger each day. Yet the mysterious human commander kept his secret close. He had fought these aliens once before, in shadows, in battles no history book had recorded, and he knew something no one else did. A weakness buried deep inside the enemy's pride, a weakness he had seen with his own eyes. He did not share it yet, for the time was not right. Instead, he looked up at the night sky, at the burning debris of New London, and whispered words no one else heard. "If they want war, we will take it to them." And far above, in the silence of space, the alien admiral narrowed his many eyes, sensing that this enemy was not like the others. For the first time in his long life, victory did not feel certain. It felt like the beginning of something he could not control. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had always been seen as nothing more than scattered rock, a graveyard of stone drifting in silence, but to the humans it became a fortress. The alien admiral, still swollen with pride from destroying New London, sent his fleets into the belt to hunt down the scattered human ships, certain that this time there would be no escape. Yet when his warships entered the drifting fields, the void came alive. From behind silent rocks, from shadows cast by tumbling giants, human ships appeared like ghosts, their engines burning only at the last second, striking with speed and vanishing again before the aliens could respond. The admiral's warships fired beams of light that sliced through space, but instead of hitting targets they shattered asteroids into storms of spinning fragments. The humans used those storms as cover, hiding in the chaos, slingshotting themselves with gravity, turning nature itself into a weapon. One alien destroyer moved too close to a massive rock, only to watch in horror as thrusters hidden inside the asteroid came alive. It was no rock at all, it was a trap. The engines ignited, spinning the giant stone forward, slamming into the destroyer with a force that tore it open like glass. Across the belt, more such traps were sprung. The humans had turned dead stone into bullets, primitive but deadly, and the aliens had never imagined such desperation. They fought with precision, but the humans fought with fury. A swarm of small fighters, fragile and armed with little more than railguns, dove straight into the middle of a cruiser formation, cutting and dodging with insane maneuvers. One fighter, chased by 3 alien ships, looped around a spinning asteroid and shut its engines, drifting silently in the dark. The alien ships overshot, and with one brutal burst the human fighters' guns cut through their cores. Explosions lit the belt like fireworks. The admiral watched from his throne of light, his many eyes narrowing as more of his ships were struck down. He had never faced such chaos, never fought an enemy that embraced disorder as if it were their greatest strength. His commanders whispered nervously, their voices sharp with fear. "They should not be winning," one said. "They are primitives, they should not," but the words faded as another cruiser burst apart in flame. On Earth, the transmissions of victory poured in, shaky, broken, but clear enough. Families who had cried for New London now shouted in triumph, their voices echoing through streets and homes. For the first time since the war began, hope burned brighter than fear. In the asteroid belt, the humans delivered their greatest blow yet. Using calculations no alien computer could understand, they launched a chain of asteroids into motion, a storm of stone spinning through the void. The alien fleet tried to escape, but the rocks moved with terrifying accuracy, smashing into carriers and splitting their armor. The first great alien fleet sent into the belt was destroyed not by advanced weapons but by stones thrown with human hands, and the galaxy itself seemed to tremble with the truth. The hunters had become the hunted. Yet the victory was not without cost. Hundreds of human ships were lost, their wreckage drifting beside the alien remains, their pilots' last breaths frozen in silence. The admiral pulled back what remained of his fleet, his pride wounded, his council watching with cold judgment. In his rage, he refused retreat. He swore Earth would pay. In the dark heart of his flagship, a chamber opened, and a weapon long forbidden was revealed. It was no simple cannon, no fleet of ships, but a superweapon, a planet killer that had slumbered in the armory of the Empire for centuries. Its purpose was clear: to erase entire worlds with a single strike. The admiral's eyes glowed with fury as he whispered to his commanders, "If humans will not kneel, then their world will burn." Across Earth, victory songs still echoed, but above the celebrations, the mysterious human commander stood silent, his gaze fixed on the stars. He knew the admiral too well, knew that pride would never allow him to accept defeat, and he feared what would come next. The asteroid belt had given humanity its first true triumph, but in the silence beyond, something far greater and darker was already moving toward Earth. The sky above Earth darkened as the alien weapon entered orbit, a monstrous shape larger than any fleet, its shadow swallowing the light of the sun. Across the planet, people looked up in fear as news spread like fire. A weapon powerful enough to erase worlds had come, a planet killer that no defense could stop. The alien admiral sat in his throne of light, his many eyes fixed on Earth with burning hatred. His pride had been broken in the asteroid belt, and he would heal his shame by reducing this world to ash. On Earth, alarms wailed in every bunker, every command center, every city. Generals shouted orders, engineers rushed to their posts, families huddled together in silence. The mysterious commander stood at the heart of Earth's Defense Council, his voice calm though his eyes carried the weight of war. "This is it," he said. "The last line. If we fall here, there will be no tomorrow." Around the planet, hidden weapons began to rise. Orbital cannons long disguised as satellites powered up, their cores glowing with stolen alien technology. Missile silos buried deep in mountains opened, their payloads armed. Fighter squadrons launched from every base still standing, their engines burning across the night sky. The defense line, a desperate network of everything humanity had built in secret, came alive. The alien weapon began to charge, light gathering at its core like a growing star, a hum that rattled even the bones of those on Earth. It was not just a machine. It was the judgment of an empire. The commander stepped forward, revealing his secret at last. Years before the war, he had fought the aliens in silence, part of a hidden program that had intercepted their scouts long before the invasion. He had seen this weapon once in the shadows of space, had studied its design, and he knew one thing the others did not: it could be destroyed, but only if humans were willing to gamble everything. He looked around the room, at faces filled with fear and resolve, and spoke words that would echo forever. "We cannot outgun it. We cannot outrun it. But we can outthink it. We fight not with power, but with chaos." The plan was simple and impossible: use the defense line not to destroy the weapon directly, but to blind it, confuse it, overwhelm it with so many false signals and chaotic strikes that it would not know where to fire. Then, in the one moment of hesitation, they would launch their final move. The battle began with fire. Human ships swarmed the alien superweapon like wasps against a giant, firing everything they had. Beams of light cut through them, tearing dozens apart in seconds, but for every ship lost another came forward. Orbital cannons spat fire into the void, missiles streaked upward through the clouds, railguns screamed from hidden stations. The weapon's shields glowed, cracking under the relentless assault, but its core kept building, brighter and brighter, ready to unleash destruction that would make Earth's oceans boil and its cities turn to dust. In bunkers across the world, families held hands and prayed as the countdown began, the sky shaking with light. The commander gave the order. The defense line unleashed chaos. Jamming signals flooded the void, false targets flickered across the weapons sensors, human fighters dived into suicide runs, exploding at close range to blind its vision. The alien admiral roared with fury as his perfect machine hesitated for the first time, its systems overwhelmed by noise it could not understand. In that moment, the commander revealed his final card, a captured alien warship, rebuilt in secret, packed with explosives powerful enough to ignite the weapon's heart. Pilots guided it forward, silent and steady, straight into the core. The alien admiral's many eyes widened as he realized what was happening, his voice breaking through the fleet. Stop them. Stop them now. But it was too late. The captured ship pierced the shield, engines burning with the last of its stolen power, and slammed into the weapon's core. For one breath, silence filled the void. Then the sky exploded. A blinding wave tore through orbit, brighter than any sun, shaking Earth itself as the alien planet killer was consumed in fire. The Admiral's fleet reeled back, half blinded, their voices full of disbelief. On Earth, the people watched as the great shadow broke apart, its pieces burning in the atmosphere like falling stars. The planet had survived. But the cost was written in the silence of the dead, in the wreckage drifting above, in the voices that would never return. The defense line had held, but barely. The commander stood in the bunker, his face lit by the glow of screens, his voice steady as he whispered to himself, "We are not done. They will come again. But they will never forget this day." Above, in the black silence, the alien admiral turned his eyes away from Earth. For the first time in his life, he knew defeat. The wreckage of the alien planet killer drifted in orbit, burning in silence as its shattered remains fell toward Earth's skies like a storm of dying stars. Across the world, billions lifted their eyes, their hearts pounding as they realized the impossible had happened. The weapon that was meant to erase their world was gone, destroyed by human hands, by courage, by chaos. For a moment, the planet held its breath, unsure if it was victory or only a pause before the final strike. In the dark void above, the alien admiral's fleet reeled, their formations broken, their systems overwhelmed, their pride shattered. They had come to Earth with certainty, believing this primitive world would collapse in days. Now they pulled back, their voices trembling across the command channels, their fear spreading faster than orders could contain. The admiral, his many eyes burning with shame, whispered the words he had sworn never to speak: retreat. Across the fleet, the command spread, and ships turned away from Earth, their engines flaring as they fled into the black. For the first time in centuries, the hunters of the stars ran from prey. On Earth, the silence turned to thunder. Streets filled with shouts, with tears, with cries of joy. Families embraced, soldiers raised their fists, and children laughed through their fear. Across every city, the image of Earth's flag in orbit was broadcast again, brighter and stronger than ever, a symbol not just of survival but of defiance. The mysterious commander stood at the center of it all, his face hard, his voice steady as he spoke to the world. They came to erase us. They came to teach us fear. But today they run from our sky. Today they run from our flag. Remember this. We do not break. His words carried across nations, across oceans, across every heart that had watched death fall from the stars. The people of Earth were no longer divided, no longer weak. For the first time in history, they stood as one. Yet in the silence of the admiral's retreat, the commander knew the truth. This was not the end. The aliens would return, stronger and more ruthless, because pride would not allow them to accept defeat. And so, Earth's leaders made a decision that would change history. They would not wait. They would not hide. They would take the war to the stars. Factories that once built cars now built ships. Scientists who once dreamed of exploration now designed weapons. The captured technology of the enemy was turned into engines, into shields, into fire. Humanity, once chained to the ground, was now building wings of steel. In hidden docks across the world, the first true human fleets began to rise. Above the noise of construction, above the fire of preparation, the commander spoke one last time, his voice soft but carrying across every broadcast. They thought humans could not fight in space. They thought we would bow, that we would break. But now they know. We are the storm they never expected. And we will not stop here. Far beyond Earth, in the cold void where the alien fleet limped away, whispers spread among the crews. Fear clung to them, heavier than gravity. No one had ever made them run before. No world had ever forced them to retreat. And yet, when they looked back, They saw the burning glow of a flag that seemed to chase them across the stars. The admiral sat in silence, his throne of light dimmed, his pride wounded deeper than any scar. He knew the humans would come. He knew the war had only just begun. But for the first time, he felt something he had never allowed himself to feel: doubt. On Earth, a young soldier stepped outside a bunker after the long night, his face dirty, his body bruised, but his eyes fixed on the sky. He saw the trails of fire where the weapon had fallen, he saw the stars still shining, and he whispered words that carried into the future. "Now it's our turn to chase them."